Hey, how are you doing? Welcome to live stream number 169. It just got a little dark here in upstate New York. Started pouring out, so my lighting is maybe a little bit off. I am just a little bit early here. You should have the clock going up there. If you're watching the recording, feel free to just fast forward a few minutes, and we'll get hitting right on top of the hour, 3 p.m. Eastern. Right when that clock counts down. Really appreciate you guys taking the time, and me getting on early is just a little attempt to just say thank you, let people come in here in the live stream before we get hammered away with today's topic. What is how to handle large STL files and smooth the surface. Last Monday I did a live stream on everything you need to know about importing STL files. And of course, that opened up all kinds of questions that we need to answer. I can see we already got a bunch of people in here. We got David in here, appreciate it. Mike, Andy, Jørgen from Denmark. Conocida. We got Neil, we got Bill, Magnus, Bellen. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to join these live streams. Like I said, if you're watching the recording, just fast forward. I don't blame you. Just want to come in here a little early when I can, and just I really appreciate people taking the time. Also, I should say quickly, I'll repeat this in the end. This is going to be the only live stream this week. I'm sorry. I'm headed to Toronto and Kentucky this week to do some stuff there. So I'm sorry that this is going to be the only one for today. Got 1 minute left here. We already got 45 people in here. We got Bob. Really appreciate you guys taking the time. Chris, man, ready to go with coffee. Yeah, I just finished. I still got a sip left of mine here. About ready to go. 55 seconds. We got Andy in here. Hey man, that's awesome. Glad you guys find these videos useful. And that's really just what this is, right? Just an attempt to add a little bit more value to your Fusion 360 experience. Again, today's topic is STL files, large STL files. I thought last Monday that I kind of like wrapped it up with my everything you need to know, and that link is down in the description area. But and ended up with some more questions, so that's what we're gonna answer today. All right, let's see here. We got the UK. Really appreciate you guys taking the time. Jared is asking, what is behind me on the box there? That is, I'm gonna do that in 12 seconds. That is a Haas simulator for a CNC controller. So a Haas CNC machine, it mostly used for education, where you can take your CNC program or your G-code out of Fusion, and you can throw it into this, and you can kind of like test it before you go to a real machine. That's it. Again, I really appreciate you guys taking the time. Let me just get rid of the clock here, and let's get today's live stream going here. All right, should be ready. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to join today's live stream. My name is Lars Christensen, and today's topic is how to handle large STL files and to smoothen the surface on these STL files inside of Fusion 360. Last week, I did a live stream, everything you need to know about importing STL files. Link is down in the description area. And I thought that I kind of like now had covered what I needed to, but then of course some question arose. Appreciated you guys sending me the emails. Email address is also down in the description area. And I thought I would just make a quick live stream here, kind of answer some of those questions. Hopefully adding a little bit more value to your Fusion 360 experience. You give the thumbs up, thumbs down if you don't like it. Absolutely, and we'll take it from there. So, too much talking. Let's jump into to Fusion here. So I'm gonna call up this STL file that I'm always struggling with. Bringing in STL files, don't use the data panel, right? Don't use the upload button. That's how your STL files goes out of scale. Use the insert mess, okay? And I'm gonna bring in my Mount Rushmore model here. We get a free move here. I'm going to rotate it up here. This is the one that has a, well, it said on Thingiverse when I downloaded it, hit okay, that this was the Mount Rushmore with Franklin, and this is definitely not Franklin over here, but that's okay. So what we talked about last week was that we need to get rid of the history down here. We can right click and say do not capture design history. We get a little warning about that. And then now we have an option that we can right click on a model and we can say mesh to B-wrap. Click on that and we can hit OK, and then it can convert a mesh into a solid. However, with this model, we run into a problem. There is a face count of 66,386. Conversion has been aborted. What means that Fusion is kind of like saying, I'm sorry, dude, that's not happening. Around 50,000 faces, and Fusion will convert it in to a solid. What we talked about last week was that we do have some tools. If you go into the mesh workspace, and if you need to turn it on in your preview section, if you don't have it already turned on, right here, watch the last week's video, link down in the description area. And then what we could do was we could go in and we could use the reduce, so we could bring these 66,386 triangles down to under 50,000, so we could convert it into a solid. However, I got a couple of emails from a couple of you guys out there who said that, well, that's all great. I don't want my STL file to be under 50,000 to convert it. It's going to get too rough. And I know I've talked about this before with STL files, so if you've already watched this, sorry. Repetition is key in all learning, right? That's my friend Zig Ziglar one time said. So it's important to talk about STL files. STL files is a representation of a model made out of triangular shapes. If I zoom in, you will see that the surface in here is all triangles. So we need to agree on, I know there have been some conversation, but we need to agree on that this is just flat triangles. Now, my biggest issue with STL files is that most of the times when you get an STL file, you don't have control over how fine those triangles are made. What means that if there is a low count of triangles, then it's not a very accurate model, right? If it's a high count, then it can be very accurate, but it's still flat triangles kind of wrapped around, for example, a curve. But then when you try to bring it into a solid model like Fusion 360 or Inventor or SolidWorks, then the software have to convert all these triangles into a solid, and the developers have kind of put a lid on it because it just gets a little crazy. So in this case here, this model here is, like I said, 66,000, and Fusion has kind of like a limit of 50,000, which is actually, I think, is fairly high compared to Inventor and SolidWorks. I'm not 100% sure about that number. So the first issue here we're going to talk about is, well, what if I don't want to bring this whole thing down to 50,000? Because what we saw last week was that, you know, Jefferson's mouth got a little less detail, right? As soon as you're bringing the triangular count down, you're going to get less fine detail. So a tool that there is inside of the mesh workspace in here is a separate tool. So if we're looking in the tree over here right now, we have one big mesh body. So what you can do is you can go in here and say, I want to separate this in. So if I go in here and actually separate, hang on. Yes, that's what we want. We want to separate this. So let's go in here and just click on the window selection instead of the painting thing. Select the whole thing here. Let's go in and do, where was it? Separate. This is the one we want to separate here. Oh, why am I not? Oh, no, not separate. Hang on. What did I just do? I'm always having, every time I bring this model in here. Let's go ahead and do a plain cut instead. And then instead of, then I think we can go in here and just trim it, split the bodies, I think is what we're gonna do. So we're gonna select the mesh, and we're gonna go ahead and select the plane we're gonna use. It's gonna be this plane here. And then instead of trim, we're gonna split the bodies. That's what we want to have. That's what I'm going after. We don't want to go in and separate them. We want to split them. So we used this one in last week's. So go into the plane cut. Wow, it's Monday. Plane cut, and select your mesh, and then select the plane. So turn the origin on over here, so you can select of the origin in here to get whatever plane you want. So I'm going to select this plane. And last week I showed you how we can trim with it, but in this case here, we don't want to trim, we want to split the body, okay? And then I would recommend that you turn uniform fill on. I'm going to show you just in a second. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this mesh and I'm going to bring it down to right between Washington and I think it's Jefferson right there. And then I'm going to hit OK. And what we're going to end up with is two different meshes now. And if I turn this mesh off, so we just have Washington, you will see that it has been healed on the back side here, right? So I did not reduce the face count on this whole thing. But what I can do now is I can do what we talked about last week and go into model mode. I can now right click on Mr. Washington and I can now say mesh to be wrap, and if I hit OK, you will see that we now have brought this down to 20 thousandths, right? And we can then say, all right, proceed with the conversion, and then we can go in here and it gets converted into a solid body here. We can now see we have that solid body right there. And if I turn the mesh off for a second, you will now see we have this solid of Washington, and we still have the other ones here. So now we could go in and do the same thing again. Go into our mesh workspace, and we could go in and again use the plane cuts just like we did before. Now we can select this, so you can start splitting this down into the different segments of the different people. So we can now try to go in here, and then we can actually grab, maybe try to rotate the splitting line a little bit, right? So now you can see here how you can take this large mesh, and again, split body, uniform healing, hit OK, and now we can turn that off. So now we have this one here, and then we can repeat that, go back into the modeling space and right click, and now we can turn that into a you see this one was only 10,000, turn that into a solid. So this is how you can convert these meshes into solids without have to vary too much about eliminating the face count. Of course, then in the end we can go to modify, and we can combine these two into one body. What would be what we're kind of looking for. So this is the workaround. If you have a large assembly and you gotta bring them together. Now we are actually getting a warning here. So we might have to, there might be actually something, there might be intersecting or something. Combine, let's select this one. I should have seen what the error message said. Again, because these triangles, this is not great data, these STL files. So what I would probably do here, yeah, see, there's some inconsistency in the faces. So what you actually could do was you could make now your own kind of cut between the two. So I hadn't planned on showing this, but now where we are added. Let's see here, we got those two gentlemen right there. Looks like we're making kind of a cut right here. You could go in, one way could be to maybe just go in here, and we could probably make, we should be able to cut through both of the guys. See if we can go in two directions. Well, there's definitely something it doesn't like going that direction. That's interesting. This is what I get for he will cut that way. But I don't want to cut that way. Looks like there's actually some graph vertices. Okay. People always tell me they like when things are not going the way I want them to. So, what happens if we make a plane? This is not practiced. Cut a plane here. Let's try to do a split body. This body with this plane. Haha, look at that. No intersection between target and the split tool. Well, I think that is not true. All right, so this is next Monday's live stream. Well, at least I'm still achieving what I kind of promised, though, that I would like to merge these two together. But we're still converting this mesh body down without changing the triangles. I might have to work a little bit on getting these two edges together. There's a way to do it, one way or the other, again, without. But what I'm trying to say here is we don't want to change these triangles. Now, so that's the way that you will cut through with the mesh tool, cut the thing down. You can convert it step by step by step, and then combine them together again in the solid environment. But then I got a question about smoothing these triangle shapes. How do I get, because if you 3D print this or something, then all these, I mean, this will be all flat triangles in here. So you achieved the status that you didn't want to make your mesh less triangle, so it became a rougher surface. But now you have all these in here, and how can we smooth this out? A tool for that. Let me just open up another file. I'll open up the same file but a new file. Let's insert mesh. Let's bring it back in again. Let's just rotate it like that there. Let's get rid of the history timeline. Okay. And then, like I said, go into your mesh workspace and let's go into plane cuts. Select our mesh body. Select the plane we want to do it on. And we could split it. In this case here, I'm just going to get Mr. Washington. And I'm actually going to trim it this time. So we're just trimming that there. Okay. So how can we work with these triangles that you just saw in here being extremely rough? How do I smooth those out? Well, I'm here to tell you that there is no magic way to do that. Because it a little bit goes with that saying, garbage in, garbage out, right? And I'm not, wow, then the sun just blasted me right in the face. This is how it is in upstate New York. 1 minute it's raining and it's gray, and the next minute the sun is just coming through the window. It's garbage in, garbage out with these STL files, right? So if you are not control over generating these STL files, then you can't control how many triangles there is or where they are. So how do we now inside of Fusion smoothen them out so they get smoother? And like I said, there is no magic button because, well, there is a smoothing tool inside of the mesh tool here. You can go in and smooth a certain section of it. So for example, if we go in here and turn the mesh palette on, let's make it a little bit smaller brush size here. We could kind of take his nose here and we could kind of select it here like that. And with this smoothing tool, you do get an option to kind of smoothen the triangles. It's going to try to kind of like averaging out the triangles and make them smoother, but it's still flat triangles, and that's still what you see. Even if you say okay to this is still what you see at the end when you're kind of looking at this. Now, there is a cool tool, and that is the Sculpt Tool, right? And that could be your solution to do this. Now, again, it's not going to be 100% magic. What I'm going to do here, the way I'm going to show you this is I'm going to move our STL model here. I'm going to orient it over closer to my plane here, where my origin is, because I'm going to use the vertical plane to kind of work with this. And I'm going to make sure he's kind of facing somewhat straightforward to this plane here. Here we go. I think that's good enough. So I have a plane right here that is kind of in front of his nose. So here's the trick you can work with inside of Fusion. And this, I honestly really think that this shows that Fusion has a lot of great tools in it. Because again, these STL files, it's kind of a foreign object. STL files are just these triangles. It's not created by Autodesk or Fusion. So what we can do is we can go in here and create a plane. And I'm going to create a plane right on this face here. Now I'm going to make sure I'm looking right close here. And I'm just going to draw this flat plane somewhere around here. Now, of course, you can control inside of the space here how many faces you get in there. So I have 2 and 2, so 4 faces. You can definitely make them a lot finer. But what you can do now here, so now I have this flat thing right in front of Mr. Washington's nose. Now I can go ahead and use the standard edit tool, of course. Double click on an edge to get the whole line, and I can kind of maybe move it up a little bit and place it a little bit better on his nose here. But there is a tool inside of Sculpt that is called Pull, and Pull will pull a T-spline vertice or a point towards a mesh. So if I go in here and say pull, you will see that I already had these selected. I can now select these indices and they will snap into this surface. So I can go ahead here and bring them in. Now, there's a couple of best practices I think I gotta give you. So now this plate here is now pretty flux with his nose. Of course, the cool thing about the Sculpt environment, and I don't call live streams on this one before, is that it will keep this surface tangent or curvature to itself. So if I now go in and say right click edit form, I double click on this edge, so now I get that whole edge. And if you've seen any of these before, if I hold down Alt while I'm dragging, I'm creating kind of like a new face. And if I'm looking underneath here, you can see kind of like how I'm dragging this face out a little bit. Now, the more segments you're making, the less curvature you're going to get over the overall shape. And I think you have a tendency when you're doing this to create a lot of these. But my point is, if I drag that face out there, now I can go back into the pull function. And actually, because I pulled this out, I let go of the last 3 I grabbed. So I can click on those again. And you will see that now I'm start dragging this T-spline down to this surface. So instead of having all these jagged triangles, I'm now getting kind of a curvature on his nose. Let's add one on the other side. Right click, edit form. Just going to double click this edge to get that whole selection. Hold down Alt and drag this out. Hit OK. So now I kind of get a new surface here, and I can now go in here and do pull those down, and you will see again it keeps a curvature, so it's lifting up the last point. So you can go back in and kind of pull those down to the surface. Now, this is not going to be, again, 100% perfect. And if I hide the mesh body for a second, you go in and look at this, you will see that there is some dips and valleys in here. But that, of course, is because it's trying to follow this mesh. But this will give you a very good kind of starting point to overlay a T-spline over an STL file. So going from this very rugged STL triangular shape that you brought in to actually start creating something like a T-spline that you have the curvature on. So I hope that this was helpful. Now, this solution here with the T-spline, I am by no means saying that this is a, magic button and now everything is perfect. That's going to take a little bit of time. I played around with it before the live stream today. I spent about 15 minutes and I had Mr. Washington's nose created. But again, I ended up inserting a lot of line segments from the T-spline, and it did not become the curvature that you would have liked to see on a real human nose. So what I would have to go in and probably spend another 10 minutes or so and kind of getting that straightened out, pulling in the different handles. Remember, at any point here, if I just hide Mr. Washington, at any point you can go back in here and we can start, play with things. So if we think that this point here is a little bit deep down, we can kind of start making that maybe more organic. So you do have, then of course you're gonna lose the attachment to the nose, but that gives you a way to kind of start moving things around and make it maybe a little bit more, artistic and more normal to the nose. But it's definitely, I think, a very strong start to get going. All right, we were just shy of 100 people today. I really appreciate that on a Monday, friends. Absolutely appreciate again that you are taking the time to join these live streams. I hope this was useful. How to take the Lars files, chuck them up, and save them as solids if that's what you want. But then if you want to actually smoothen it out and make it more smooth, well, then you're probably going to have to go into something like the Sculpt Tool. You let me know if this was useful. Thumbs up. If you didn't like it, do me a favor, thumbs down. It's okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I want your honesty because this is just trying to add a little bit more value to your Fusion experience. That's it, folks. Now, the rest of the week, I'm going to be out. I'm going to be headed to Toronto tomorrow for a generative design workshop. Remember that we did a live stream on that, if you're into that whole new thing. And then I'm going to Kentucky later in the week. Just going to be all kinds of stuff going on this week. So 169th, that one is in the box here on June 4th, 2018. Again, if you're watching the recording, thank you so much. If you're inside of the live stream chat, I'm going to jump in there and say hi to everybody. Until the next time, I hope you have an awesome, awesome day. Thank you so much.